Once a long time ago, on my face before the Lord, in front of the altar at a church, they did the benediction and I went up. And I was frustrated. I was beyond frustrated. I had seen some things in the church that were absolutely inexcusable. I had seen some things that showed the arrogance and the hubris of man in such a way that leadership was more of a catchphrase for totalitarian stupidity. And I just did not fit in. And no matter how hard I tried, I could not fit in. And I had invested a lot, both financially, physically, career-wise. I stopped everything just to be in this place, and I'll never forget what happened. A huge hand rested on my shoulders. And in a sweet voice, I heard a man named Andy Minnick say something to me. He said, "Michael, no matter how hard David tried, he could not fit into Saul's armor." Now, for those of you who know that story, know what I'm talking about. So many of you, myself included at times, are trying to match or fit in or just blend in. And if you are a person of God, you weren't meant to. You weren't meant to just go along with everything. You weren't meant to blend in. You weren't meant to go to the parties. You weren't meant to get blitzkrieg drunk. You weren't meant to do the drugs. You weren't meant to have multiple partners. You weren't meant for a lot of these things. And today, more than ever, you've got a lot of people claiming to be godly. And they have no form of godliness in them whatsoever. And I will not claim not to have been one of those people at times. And by the grace of God, He's been continuing to be the lifter of my head. So I ask you, in your life right now, are you trying to squeeze into a form that doesn't suit you? And if you're not a Christian today, are you trying to blend in somewhere where you just don't fit in? Are you trying to blend into a place where people are asking you not to think for yourself? Let us do the thinking for you. You just sit back and get angry. Let us do all the thinking for you, and you sit back and get outraged. We'll sit back here all smug like we know everything, and you do all the hard work so we can have all the power. On that fateful day, David chose not to wear Saul's armor at all. He didn't take his sword, his shield, his helmet, his breastplate. He went there as himself. And the good Lord showing him the way, and that was enough. Even people who don't believe in the Bible and the stories know David existed. They know most likely a man named Goliath did indeed exist. And that moment most likely very well happened, where a young boy took down a giant with nothing more than a sling and a stone. He didn't do it by fitting in. He didn't do it by being subservient. He didn't do it by not thinking for himself. All the while, he did it God's way. Someone once told me if I tried not to fit in all the time and I just did what I know I'm supposed to do, I wouldn't have any friends. Well, I dare say you don't have any friends now. You could be surrounded by 1,000 people and still be very lonely. I know what that's like. I know what it's like for the world, much of the world, to know who I am. I know what it's like to stand in front of thousands of people and get standing ovations, and none of it meant a thing compared to that of just listening and being sensitive to what the Lord's trying to tell me, and then doing that has given me more satisfaction than anything in this whole wide world, by not trying to fit in. And so many people have said, Michael, you're too big. You've got too big a personality. You're too much. You're too this, you're too that. And they've tried to quell me just like they do you. You see, school does not teach you how to think for yourself. It teaches you how to get in line. School teaches you how to let other people do the thinking for you. And it's those that think for themselves, those that ask questions, those that dare to challenge, are the ones that are troublemakers. In business, it's the same way. It's that one that's waving the flag of, hey, we can do better. We're not perfect. We can do better. That one who's challenging you to higher heights, that's the one who all of a sudden becomes culturally unsound because they don't fit in. I dare say I'd rather have a room full of misfits any day to accomplish any goal than I ever would all the Sauls in the world, tall and handsome and athletic. Think about that. The very man who tried to kill David all those years was handsome beyond belief, taller than most of his people. And yet the one that God favored was short, ruddy, as the Bible says, and very likely he was red-headed and freckled-faced. The guy was a freak amongst Jews. And that is the young man that God chose to lead a nation. A man who never fit in with his father, a man who was never good enough for his dad, and never good enough for a king. But he was good enough for God, and so are you.